Hello and welcome. My name is Sal Hamby, and today I'm here to talk about tweeting while eating. It's on behalf of Inspire Wellbeing and in conjunction with National Workplace Wellbeing Day. So without further ado, are you tweeting while you're eating? Very important to have a look at this. If you see this picture, you might familiarise with that quite readily, some not, and look at it in disgust. I use it for an extreme example of how we've become more integrative with regards to combining certain activities like eating while tweeting. And even though tweeting doesn't necessarily just mean Twitter, what I mean by that is that the technological bombardments and advanced technologies that we so readily become an extension of ourselves. So it's so easy to get caught up in the habitual nature and cycle of tweeting while eating. And even though this doesn't necessarily solely refer to Twitter per se, as I say, the very notion of being distracted while eating has become an intrinsic factor in many people's lives in various parts of the world, and even without being fully consciously aware or mindful of the process itself. So why has this ritual become so normal? If it's not the television glaring or the earphones plugged in or the iPad pinging or the smartphone ringing or gaming or the tablet scrolling or the act in question, tweeting while you're eating. When trying to understand the complex nature of why many people allow themselves to become perpetually distracted while eating, there are a few theories to consider. In a study carried out by the Harvard medical chief editor, he found that if people are distracted while eating, that we tend to eat more. And also one example of this is eating in front of the television. Now, we all know this picture. I'm sure not one person hasn't sat in front of the television eating a pizza. And it's not that it's wrong. It's that when it becomes fundamentally intrinsic and habitual to the point where we're doing it on a daily basis, that's when it can have an impact on our overall digestion, and we'll talk about that now. This study looked at the calories that we were consuming while watching these TVs and devices and using them, because it takes 20 minutes for our bodies to feel full from when we eat something, hence why being more mindful in the eating process will allow you to connect better to the food and also the body signaling rather than being overrid by the distractions. The study also showed that our memories can become impaired if we are distracted while eating, to the extent that we can forget exactly what has been eaten, and then that reinforces the disconnect that can occur when we're truly not present with our food. So as we can see here, it's really a cognitive issue whereby it's affecting our overall memory of the food in which we're eating because we're so distracted by other things. So this picture is from an article that I wrote for an international publication called Breathe, which is a wellbeing magazine. And when I wrote the article, they actually got an illustrator to draw this picture to suit the article. And I think it's really amazing picture because it really shows how normalized this has become in our lives, to the point where if it's not, at a restaurant or at home or at work, these things are very much considered integrated in a way. So I do have a fascination with this mandatory and fundamental use of smart devices and how they've become, over half the world's population's norm, according to Statista. And also, it's an extension of ourselves, almost like a spare part. So when I decided to write the article, Are You Tweeting While You're Eating? It was partly because, as a nutrition consultant myself, I understand the process that the body does need to go through to break down the food and digest the food more readily. And even though I am very much guilty of sitting in front of the television and scrolling through the phone while I'm eating some of my meals, I also do like putting the phone down and just being present with the food and enjoying the taste, whether I am eating alone or in a group. So this picture I like because it's really about trying to strike the balance. Well, some would argue that certain countries in Europe will celebrate food. It's a ritual. They take hours to eat, enjoy it, digest it, have a siesta, for example, if you're lucky enough to be able to do that. And solely partaking in the eating process allows you to connect with the food, the people, yourself, be in the moment, grounding yourself on a deeper level, where we gain an appreciation for the food that we're eating and become more mindful in the process, as well as helping aid our digestion more effectively. And I think that's where, me going on holiday to Italy is one thing, but I integrated into a very pre-existing environment whereby people are eating like this on a normal day-to-day basis, where they're just present with the food. Whereas on the other hand, countries like America, for example, I'm speaking here in the general, have somewhat normalized tweeting while eating, justifying the combining of these activities as potentially being more productive with our time, saving time overall. And this is what we tell ourselves, get behind the wheel, eat, have a cup of tea on the go, have a cup of coffee on the go, sit at our desk and eat, watch television while we're eating. It's all about saving time, even on a real subconscious level. This has been studied. And a clinical study with a psychologist called Dr. Moore has said it's partially a cultural thing. People don't always combine eating while watching TV or using other devices. In some countries, it's an event, whereas for example, in America and places around the world and other Western countries, food's more complicated. People often feel that if we're enjoying our food, it's a guilty pleasure and they feel bad about it. So you enter television and other distractions to take our minds off the actual eating process. And I find that really fascinating, because even on a real deep subconscious level, there may even be that trial that shows a guilty association and pleasure with eating, to the point where if we distract ourselves with these things, it takes not only our minds off the eating process, but it gives us a double dopamine kick. And that's what we're going to discuss now in a moment. Many studies have been carried out to determine that if we are distracted while eating, we do tend to chew less, impacting on our ability to digest the food optimally. So the energy is diverted away from breaking down the food and is replaced with the stimulation from external factors such as television, smartphone use, and driving a car. And I have to say, I've been guilty of it in the past myself. So let's get to the nitty gritty. If you were to engage in the act of eating alone, then the parasympathetic nervous system would take charge and do the work it's meant to do. And instead of the attention being diverted to your extremities in the fight or flight mode, the energy is concentrated around the digestive system and its unique ability to take nutrients from the food you eat and utilize them accordingly in a rest and what I like to call digest mode. So if we look at the pictures here to make an understanding of this, sympathetic nervous system, if you can see, her pupil's quite large, and then the parasympathetic nervous system, the pupil is at a normal size. So when we are in a fight or flight mode, we engage our sympathetic autonomic nervous system. And what this means is that we divert the attention away from the eating process and the digestion, and we literally are in a fight or flight sympathetic state. If we are eating and we're just mindful with the eating process and just relaxed and present with the food, we engage the parasympathetic nervous system and it's relaxed. It's called feed and breed, rest and digest, rest and relax. So this is the idea between what we are doing when we're tweeting while eating is we're in a low grade perpetual state of sympathetic nervous system response and reaction, which is detrimental to our overall health, physiologically and mentally, as well as preventing the ability to uptake our nutrients adequately. So our focus, which could potentially be in a true and simple form, just enjoying the food that we're eating, it has become hindered by these distractions on a physiological level. So this dopamine pleasure chemical that I mentioned is also released from the feel-good factor of eating a nice meal. So if we combine these distractions like tweets and likes and texts and emails and Facebook feeds and Instagram stories and so on, our attention is diverted away from the digestive process, and the focus is on the story, the stimulation, the image, the sound, the contributing to our disconnect with the eating process. So you'll see there's a recurring theme here, is just the fact that it's really important to have a look at this because it's something that we do every day. So I'm sure that a lot of people and a lot of times have sat down with a good movie, me included, with a remote in hand and popcorn in the other, and it's normal as an occasional treat. But when we start becoming very normalized to the point where it's a way of being every day in a habitual way, then that can have a detrimental impact on our essential nutrient uptake from the food. And the answer is likely no, we're not going to get the best from our food if we continue to do this relentlessly. So this information is one thing. How do we implement it into a strategy that we can incorporate into our everyday lives more effectively? This way, when eating out, and try to leave the phone down out of your pocket. And if you do want to take a picture, I'm guilty of that, then do so, but put your phone away. And I really like this picture, because this is what a lot of people will know and recognize as almost like a standoff. So people go into a restaurant, friends meet together, they stack their phones up, the first one to take their phone and to read it or to answer it, they have to pay the bill. And I really like that. And the thing is, this wouldn't have ever have been created if there wasn't a problem with it. So you have to look at it like that. It's not a bit of fun. It's actually like people taking a stand. And I really like that picture. Setting the table. So the picture I chose here shows simplicity. I don't mean a big elaborate table spread. I just mean setting a table, looking forward to the experience itself. And chewing your food to optimize digestion, really important. Really, really important to chew the food, which then helps create enzyme activity in the stomach, which then starts to secrete to help break down the foods that we're having and putting into our body. Also limit the amount of time that you spend watching television while eating or tweeting, because your body and your mind will thank you for it. And that picture is where I would really like to eat every day. I think it's lovely. And the Dalai Lama, a monk from the school of Tibetan Buddhism, once said, approach love and cooking with reckless abandon. And what I think he meant by that is that you should put your all into the experience and enjoy it for what it is, without the bombardment and distraction of technological advancement, and just to be with the colors and flavors and textures and everything, just the food and the experience itself. And you do have the potential to tap in and connect with this wonderful and mindful experience of simply eating without tweeting, if you so wish and you value the idea enough. The power is at your fingertips, but maybe just leave your phone down and out of your hands in the process, just from time to time, for a more fulfilling and rewarding eating and culinary experience. And here is a little mindful Malaysian satay curry recipe from my cookbook that I'm working on. And this is a picture that I've created with my photographer, who kindly suggested putting the little Buddha in the background there with the candle. I thought that was quite cute. But this is a Malaysian mindful satay. And what this really is peanuts, peanut butter and coconut. So you're getting a lot of good essential fats, but you're getting proteins, and then you're getting lots of herbs and spices, which are influenced by Malaysia with a bit of a hint of Indonesia and also Thailand. So it's a good combination. So I hope that if any of you would like to make that curry, that you enjoy it, because I know that I do. So thank you very much for taking the time to watch this today, and I hope the rest of your day is good for you. Thank you.